Okay. I'm going to say that you are Charlie Maes
Charlie Maes
from Mora, New Mexico.
from Mora, New Mexico. Came in 1936. The first 30 miles of my trip were by covered wagon. And when we left Vegas in the evening, we got here about just a little afternoon. Must have been around 1 or 2 o'clock. And I remember that we showered, and then we went to the fence over there, the old picket fence that's around the garages now, to see the new diesel train. It was just starting to come in then. I mean, they were just starting to run the diesel train. So a lady took us over there, our house mother, Lillian Moore. And we have a scholarship, or used to have, probably still do, called the Lillian Moore Scholarship. She was from, I think, southern Texas somewhere, Galveston, and she left some money, and it was left there for many years, 20 years, I don't know how long. But then they discovered it and made a scholarship. It was left for a scholarship, I guess.
She was a dorm parent?
She was a dorm parent, right in the kindergarten. Yeah. She was a wonderful lady. She's about the only one that I ever remember holding me in her lap. And that includes my parents.
Whoa.
Which was, I think, very loving of her. The old, they used to call it hospital. Now they call it infirmary. And I don't know if they used the whole building for the hospital or mostly the east half. But I remember that my first year, I remember I must have been a little bit upset at my stomach or something, because I spent the first night over there in the hospital, and I think it was a new hospital because one of the kids told me that he had had his tonsils taken out in this hospital here the year before. And so that means that this was still being used the year before. So it would seem that maybe 1936 was the first time that it was really used full time, even though the sign on the door says 1933. Maybe they approved it in 1933.
Okay, so
You see this coloration on the brick there? That was the east door. That was the main door we used there.
in the middle?
Yeah, in the middle there.
Okay, so when you came here, the very first night you were here,
It was
you
in
spent
the
in the
infirmary
infirmary,
over there.
in
Yeah.
what is now the infirmary.
Yeah, and I remember we were having that day or the next day, I'm not sure. We were having onion soup. I wasn't much for onion soup, but it was okay. But I remember the nurse saying, if you eat this and you're okay, tomorrow you can go to school. You know. Anyway,
How old were you?
I was 6.
6?
6 gonna be 7 in November.
So had you gone to school 1 year in Mora?
I had gone 1 year in Mora, but there was a guy that said, you wanna see stars? Told his friends. That's what they told me. And the guy said, yeah. And there was a big wall. See, Mora had the third college in New Mexico, I understand, and the old ruins of the wall were there. And he threw a can over the wall. I was on the other side of the wall, hit me on the head, and it made a pretty good scar up there. And so since then, my parents said, no more school for you there, you know. And so they took me out of school. It was about mid-year. And so the next year is when I came. So I was 6 years in November that year before, and here I came at 6 years to be 7 years old.
Okay.
I'd come in November. Now all this here, this sidewalk was put up for the, primarily for the seniors to walk. You say, why that? Because in our day, from about 8 to 8:15, we had a walking period. And so we went around the buildings, but the seniors needed a little bigger walk, so Mr. Small built this sidewalk clear around over here. They called it North Lawn Sidewalk. And it was good for us. I think walking before class 15 minutes was a good idea.
Oh, that happened in the morning.
In the morning, right? They used to call it the walking period. Okay. This building wasn't here, of course. Dr. Quimby built this dorm here, and Mr. Sneed had this building built.
Sacramento.
Sacramento. And what's this one? What's this building
That's
called?
San Andres.
San Andres, yeah.
So San Andres was built while Quimby was here?
Yes.
Do you remember?
Uh-huh. And this one was built
And Sneed was
with
here.
Mr. Sneed.
And you worked for both Quimby and Sneed? You were a teacher here?
No. Quimby had just died a few years before.
Before you started working?
Before I came to work.
Mhm.
Yeah. Quimby came in, what was it, 43. Yeah.
So-
Now, under Mr. Small, they were building, this was the swimming pool. And I remember that there was some boards, a slant or a slide thing almost to that north fence over there, because they would take the cement for the roof. That has a cement roof.
Oh, yeah.
It's the most solid roof on campus. If you had a tornado, that roof would stay on there and the rest would probably blow off. But anyway, I remember seeing the wheelbarrows, cement going up that slant to pour up there. Now you say, well, why didn't they do it elsewhere? I don't know why, but I remember seeing the wheelbarrows going up there to pour the roof. When they were building it, I still like the older guys, get me some tile, they had some little 1 inch, I guess, octagon or hexagon tile that all the kids wanted, so it got me about 3 or 4 tiles of those.
Those are the ones that they used in the deck.
They used them on the shower room floors in here. And that is a suspended tank. It wasn't resting on the ground, it was suspended.
The pool itself.
The pool, the water holding thing. And it did develop a crack after a couple of years, which they were never really able to seal 100%, but it worked fine for, gosh, until who built the other one, the other swimming pool? It wasn't Sneed, I think it was a guy after him that built the so-called new pool. Anyway,
So
they served a very good purpose, sir.
was swimming kind of a required
Swimming
skill?
Well, we had swimming once a week in physical education, so in a way you could say it was required. And if we could sneak in there once in a while, we probably went swimming, on our own. Once a year we went swimming at about 6 o'clock in the morning, towards the end of the year. Now, it's interesting because right over here on this little space here used to be, I remember the senior guys would come with my friends and we lay down over here and I'd watch the stars. And not that I could see much of the stars, but what I could, I enjoyed. But there was a bullpen over here when they had the dairy, and the bullpen was somewhere over here. and that became the smoking house for the seniors. Before then, we used to have, when I was here, we had to go smoke outside the gate. Now, we couldn't always smoke. That started about 1945 maybe, that Quimby started letting they got permission for students to smoke. And so the girls weren't allowed to smoke, but the boys would smoke while they're in the north gate going out. And then when they did away with the dairy, they fixed a bullpen for the boys to use for smoking. One time they burnt it down, I think.
Well, I have heard that the barn was burned down.
The barn also got burned
because
down.
of kids smoking.
Yeah. Now, I think that thing used to have 2 chimneys. I could be
It did.
mistaken, but I think I remember 2 chimneys.
I remember when they took one of them down.
Really?
Yeah, it was about 7 years ago.
Aha.
They put in a new boiler. Let's wait till the train goes by. They put
It's all these.
that diesel. They put in a new boiler and they tore that chimney
Before they. Okay, hurry up. All these used to be just dirt. There was no grass, no thing there. And at one time, they used to use like crude oil on the boilers, and they spread crude oil over the ground here to keep the dust down. I guess those tanks are for the well there, huh?
They are now, yes.
Now, Mr. Small, 1939, he built that, had that tank put up.
The water tower? The water tower?
The water tower.
That was in 39?
39. And let me show you where we used to. There used to be an opening right here. Now you have to go clear across. Can we cut across here?
Sure. It's wet, but I think it's okay.
The opening used to be right here. And we'd come, when I was in the kindergarten with Mrs. Moore, we would come over here quite often, not every day, but very often, to sing to the cows.
Oh, yes.
And there was a kid that could play the guitar. So see, about over there is where
Hey,
the
Mike.
cows used to be, and we would stand about there and sing and play the guitar for them before supper time. And they would kind of listen as if they understood and appreciated. Now, all this was wooden garages over here for the faculty cars. Dr. Quimby built all this garages here. This one was, of course, for the bus. And over here stood the pump that pumped the water into the tower. It was a great big diesel engine that sat there. It stood about this high, and it must have been about 8 or 10 feet long, a huge diesel engine, very noisy. You could hear it all over the campus. It was extremely noisy. Had a little 5 horsepower to get it started. But I remember that you could hear it all over the campus.
So that pump would not run all the time, though. They would use it to fill the tank, and then
see that little thing on the tower. Whenever you it got up to the top, it was like something that when the water level in the tank went down, the thing raised up. So
it was a float.
Like a float, yeah. But it had something that you could see on this side, and so that thing ran about not every day, but it ran at least 2 or 3 times a week, I'd say at least. That holds 50,000 gallons, I understand.
That's a lot.
That tank there, which is pretty good size tank, 50,000.